Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to continue with chapter number 11, that is getting started with Django from the subject web frameworks. So these are the contents from the chapter number 11. From that we have seen three core files, that is model.py, urls.py and views.py in last session. In this session we are going to continue with the setting up the database connection with Django and the with the MySQL or SQL server. So here, first we will see the introductory part regarding the database and the Django supported database. So here, database is the storehouse of an organized collection of data that is used from small projects to big projects to store the information persistently so that we can easily access them when we need it. So here, database is a storehouse that in that storehouse we are going to store, or the data is organized into a tabular format, or the data is, or that storehouse is the collection of an organized data, so that the data is used for the small project or for the big projects. So we can access or we can store the data in that storehouse or that database, so that we can easily access that when we need that data from that database. So Django supports different types of database like PostgreSQL, MariaDB, MySQL, Oracle, SQLite, and some other databases using third parties like CockroachDB, Firebird, Microsoft SQL Server. From that, MySQL is one of the most popular open source relational database management system developed by Oracle Corporation in 1995. Whenever we are creating a web project or any kind of project, we want some kind of input from the end user or the customer. So whenever we are interacting or with the web, any web project or with any kind of project, at that time that end user or that interaction between that customer or with that system, uh, it is by the way that customer is going to provide some inputs. That inputs we are going to store in the database. So for that we have to handle the data, or we have to handle that inputs by a database. Considering the today's scenario, whenever we are developing a website, we need a database, whether it is a blog site or highly interactive ones like Instagram. That Instagram is based on the Django. So to achieve that, we need some software which can store the data efficiently, and some middleware which can let you communicate with that database. For accessing that data or for storing that data in the system, we need some software or we need some middleware, so that the data can be, that so that the data is efficiently, and we can access that data, and the data is stored efficiently in the database. So to access the database we need some software, some middlewares, or for that communication between that database. Here, these are the implementation steps that how to set up the database connection with the MySQL. So for that, we have to download and install that MySQL in our system, or we can install that XAMPP server. So there are few steps to setting up that database connection between that Django to MySQL. So first step is we have to set up that Django project. First, we have to create a virtual environment for your project and activate in your working directory. First, we have to create a virtual environment and we have to activate that in our working directory. So that create a new Django project. Here you can see that, consider that name like create a Django project called my project with the command, like here you can see the command for creating a Django project. You can write that command at the command line here: Django dash admin start project space my project. This is the project name, and here you can see the period dot. So with the period at the end of my project, here you can see at the end of that name of that project, it means that we are creating a project in the working directory. Whenever we are going to specify the dot at the end of that project name, that means we are creating that project in the working directory. So if you do not give that period here, that means this dot, so then that project will be built in the new directory name, that my project. That is name is for that project. So if we are not going to mention that dot here or that period here, then that means it will be built in the new directory, that name is my project, and inside that directory contains some actual Django files are there. Okay, so for creating a Django project we have to uh, use this command like Django dash admin space start project space that project name, and the dot at the end of that project name. So here now we have to run the project with the command like python manage.py run server. We have to run the server like this here, python manage.py run server. So then after running this command, go to your browser and we have to visit the link like here, see this address like http colon double slash 127.0.0.1 colon 8000. So this is the port number here. So if we see the welcome page, that means we are working correctly, and we have to follow the next step. Here you can see that after entering this address in your browser, you will see this page. This is the Django environment page. Okay, that means we have installed successfully, or we are working, or we are performing the right steps. Then the second step is we have to create a database in our MySQL workbench. After installing that SQL workbench, in that we have to create a new database. So for creating a database, first we have to create new MySQL connection in the MySQL workbench. In the window of that MySQL workbench, we have to create a new MySQL connection in the workbench, and that MySQL workbench is a GUI tool for MySQL database that provides feature like SQL development, data modeling, and server administration, and it is available in almost all operating system like Windows, Mac, Linux. So for creating a new connection string, see first simply open that MySQL workbench, see in your system, and do this, perform these steps here. We are going to create a new MySQL connection, name is my underscore project underscore connection for our project. So we have created one project, that name is my project, and now we are going to create new MySQL connection. After opening that MySQL workbench, here you can see in that we have to set up a new connection, like here give the connection name like my project underscore connection, then connection method, and pass the parameters here. We have to provide the username, password. Okay, we have to fill this information, then port number, then click on OK. After that, perform the next step. We have to create a database using a SQL query inside that SQL workbench, or inside that connection string. We have to, here you can see my project connection, inside that we have to create new database. So that open that created my project connection, and in the query section, here in the query section we have to create new database. In the query section we have to create the new database by using that SQL query, like write create database my project and semicolon. After executing this query, we are going to create a database, that name is my project. Then after executing that query, we have to refresh that schema. Yeah, schema means this here. We have to refresh the schema here by clicking on clicking this. We have to refresh the schema that is present in the left bar. We have seen that here, that schema is present here. We have to refresh that. Then there you will, after refreshing that, you will see your database is created, and then select that database method name. The database name is my project that we have created, and inside that database, that folders like tables, views, store procedure, and functions are automatically created. They all are empty because we did not create any tables or data sets inside that. Okay, so here you can see that after refreshing that schema, after creating that database. Okay, here you can see we have created database my project. Okay, and Inside that, after creating the database, after refreshing that schema, you will see that tables, views, store procedures, and functions, these all are empty because we haven't created any database, sorry, any tables, views, functions, or store procedures. Okay, this these all are automatically created after creating that database. Then next step is we have to update the settings.py file. We have to update that settings.py file in our project. So we have to update the database section of settings.py with the following changes, like here. See the database. Here we have to change the engine, then name, user, password, host, port, and here we have to set that SQL mode. Here we have to change that engine from here. Previously it is, we have to replace, like previously it is django.db.backends.sqlite3 to we have to change it on like django.db.backends.mysql. Then we have to change the name of here. In the engine section we have to replace that engine name here from django.db.backends.sqlite3 to django.db.backends.mysql in engine to point out that MySQL server. Here, in another way, we can say that we have to change that MySQL to tell Django that we are using that MySQL database. Then we have to change the name. That name is here, name. Our database name is my project. Okay. Then user. User is root here. See, user root. So here it is MySQL username who have access to the database and act as a database administrator. Then the password. Password here we can give any password here. Then we have to give that, or we have to provide that host name and the port number. Okay, that simply points out that MySQL database is hosted with the host name here, and it listen to the specific port number like this here. Then we have to set that SQL mode here. We have set that initialization command, like we have to set that SQL mode strict trans tables here. Here you can see that this command handles invalid or missing values from being stored in the database by insert or update statements. So this is optional, but we can save us from lots of errors like warnings being occurring whenever we are having huge set of database. So at that time we can use that SQL mode. Okay, for that storing the data into the database by insert or update statements. Okay, then fourth step, we have to install MySQL client package. So what is MySQL client package here? So it is the Python interface. MySQL client package is a Python interface to MySQL that allows Python projects to connect to the MySQL server. So MySQL client package is a Python interface to MySQL that allows Python projects to connect with the MySQL server. So here till now we have seen that how to create Django project, how to create MySQL database. So now we are going to see how to connect that MySQL package, or that MySQL client package, which can be easily installed through like a pipe command, PIP commands in our working directory. Like simply write on your command line in that in working directory like PIP install MySQL client. After executing this command, it will install that MySQL client package. Then the step number 5, that you have to migrate the changes. So this is the final step where we will be migrating the changes to newly created database name my projects with the command like here. We have to write the command for migrating the changes like python manage.py migrate. So when we created a database at the first time, there we have saw some empty tables. Okay, so but after running this command, like after running the command for the migrate, okay, after running this command, Django automatically creates necessary tables like authentication group, authentication user, permission, and Django session. So in our my project database, okay, so it will create the tables inside that database after executing that migrate command here, python manage.py migrate. So here you can see previously this table field is empty. Okay, so after migrating that executing that migrate command here. In our my project database, we are having some folders like tables, views, store procedure functions. After executing this Python manage.py migrate, it will create some tables like here. These are the tables created by Django here. Authentication group, permissions, okay. Then user, authentication user, user groups. These all are tables are created in that database. Okay. So that's it for today's session. We will stop here. Thank you.